BumbleKast. I'm your host, Ian Flynn, the Bumble King, and joining me as always with the power of Grayskull is Kyle J. CRB Krause.
I have come for the BumbleKast. Wait.
I beg your pardon, it's Skelekrause.
Oh, no.
Kylator?
No, it's just me. It's just Kyle.
Okay.
It's just Kyle. I'm a terrible Skeletor. Terrible. Awful.
No. Everyone has a little bit of Skeletor in them.
A little
I would hope so, because otherwise they'd just be jelly on the floor.
It's true. It's true. I don't know how Skeletor is both a skeleton and has the same muscle mass as He-Man. How does that work?
Well, I don't know if the original show got into it at all, but in the...
Did they actually address this?
Early 2000s? Yeah. No, they actually showed him. He's like a regular dude. He was blue-skinned, but, that universe, everybody's kind of weird. And he gets a face full of, like, magical poison, acid.
Okay.
And then he gets rescued by the power of Hordak. So he's got this kind of enchanted living skull thing going on.
Okay.
And that's why he's meaty and skeletal. And that's really cool.
That is cool. I like that, actually.
I may have my details wrong because it's been a long time since I saw the show, but we're getting ahead of ourselves. How are you, sir? I'm
doing all right. Keeping myself busy these days. It's tough to do, but I'm working on it. We're doing this podcast. We're doing good, but other than that, I don't really have anything else going on my end. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. Two things I want to go over before we hit into the main topic of the show. Number one, I finally sat down and watched the Castlevania animated series.
Oh, good.
Which I probably should have done before we did the Castlevania episode, but regardless, finally got through it.
What did you think?
I can see where there's a lot of hype for it. That bit in season 2 when they come into the castle and the music starts playing and everything, that is like the hype moment for everything, and I understand why everyone went nuts over it.
Well, I mean, it's bloody tears. They finally got some actual game music playing in the show, which took them a while. And
a lot of the dry wit and the banter was fun.
Mm-hmm.
I really liked how they humanized Dracula.
Yeah,
they gave him a lot more meat than just, I am the embodiment of darkness and evil and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, he had a motivation. And you can kind of sympathize with his motivation, in a way, kind of. You're like, yeah, your reaction here makes sense. It's horrible. It's a terrible reaction. It's maybe not one you should have, but I get it.
Not so fond of the complete villainization of the Christian church.
Oh, well.
Not that I'm really devout myself, but my impression of the Castlevania series is that by and large, the church is a force of good. It stands opposed to the endless night that Dracula wants to bring about. And having it be nothing but a source of evil and hypocrisy and violence, I think rings a little hollow. It's kind of lazy.
Yeah.
And the pacing left something to be desired. Season 2 did not need to be 8 episodes long. The subplot did not need to be there with the whole rival vampire country. It didn't do anything for the overall plot. We could have gotten insight into Drac and his minions in a much shorter time frame and probably had the animation be of a higher caliber if it was just 4 episodes again. The final episode of season 2 was especially drawn out. It's like, okay, we've got to fill the time slot, and we only have so much we can do to sequel hook for the next season. Let's pad it out.
That was definitely a weird thing because pretty clearly the whole story was wrapped up in episode 7. They didn't need episode 8 at all. Could have just kind of...
It was a nice denouement to it all, but you could have packaged that in episode 4, I don't know.
Yeah, it could have been. They could have made it less drawn out. Maybe instead of 4 episodes, just do 6.
Yeah.
Cut out 2 episodes and tighten it up a little bit. I mean, are you too surprised that the Catholic Church would be evil, considering who wrote the series, though?
Well, no, that's more analysis, and I understand that, but I don't know. It felt like it was veering too much in that direction and not enough into actual Castlevania. Like when they're fighting the monsters, and I'm going to tread to fake fan territory here, but the bull-headed thing with the wings and the long-necked crane thing with the spear. When the two of those show up and they're fighting Trevor, it's like, it's those guys from The Thing. That's Castlevania. Cool. But when it's, just the goo monsters and the bat things, which are cool looking, but it's like, what? That doesn't really scream Castlevania iconic critter. And I know some of it you have to avoid because of the Universal ownership and but...
Yeah, that's one of the things that I kind of missed was the... definitely the homages to the Universal. I mean, homage in the sense that they just outright ripped him off originally. But, I mean, it would have been nice to have some acknowledgement of certain aspects. But, like, I think they could have acknowledged, like, Medusa, which I guess they kind of do, but not really. But, like, Medusa's fair use. They could have put her in there. Why not? That's something they could have done. So, I don't know. Like Frankenstein's monster and all that stuff is probably off the table, but it would have been nice to see a little bit more of that. But I'm not too bothered by it. The Catholic Church thing didn't bother me at all, to be honest. But I know that they didn't need to be. They don't need to be vilified. Like, they didn't need to vilify the entire church. They could have had like one defector who was like, I'm sympathetic to your cause, not them. Screw
right,
them.
and in the games you've had sects within the church that are, or individuals that are power hungry or have their own stuff, and that's fine. And you don't need to necessarily paint it as this perfect bastion of light and holiness, because one, the games didn't do that, and two, that's not historically accurate either. But to have it just full on, we are blindly hypocritical and destructive, it felt atonal to the series.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, Alucard doing his little weird teleporty backstep thing every other time, that was freaking awesome.
Yeah.
Everything about Alucard was amazing.
Alucard is really cool. Also, I do like Sypha just being ridiculously overpowered. Like, holy crap, how's this wizard so powerful? What is going on here? How is she doing this? I don't mind it, but it's like, hot dang, she's like, geez, just going crazy.
And I just really liked how they rendered her magic. It was just inventive looking.
Yeah. And meanwhile, Trevor's over here just like, I got a whip.
Yeah, but boy, howdy does he know how to use it.
That's true. It gets a lot cooler when he gets a chain whip, which is a very, very nice homage to the games. It's like, yeah, chain whip.
Also, when this episode airs, which will be Monday the 26th, Cyber Monday, for all of you out there hunting for deals on the interwebs. But jillion miles away, the InSight probe is going to be landing on Mars with the intention of dropping a boring sensor that's going to go, what was it? I think 5 meters into the Martian surface to get all sorts of interesting data. And it's been flying around for a long time now. And it has the odds against it because apparently more than half of all expeditions sent to Mars have failed to land. So that's a lot of effort to go into potentially nothing. So fingers crossed. That's super cool. If you read The Oatmeal at all, which is a delightful webcomic series, they have a great strip talking all about it, and it's done very eloquently and in a funny way. So check out The Oatmeal on the InSight mission.
Sounds a lot more useful and interesting than shooting a car up into space.
Just a tiny bit.
Just a tad.
Not as flashy, I will grant you that.
No, nobody's streaming this. I was going to make a joke about it being boring, but nah. Because you said boring, and every time I hear that word, I think, haha, boring.
I see it.
I get it.
Homonyms.
It's very good. It's very
Wordplay, yes.
homonymy and punny and all those fun things. No, that's cool. Hopefully they find some life. Hopefully they figure out if we can get off this rock yet and onto a different rock that will just go screw up too. We're screwing up one. Might as well go screw up another.
Now let's move on to the Bumble raffle. Kyle, tell the wonderful people at home what the Bumble raffle is.
It's a place where you can win prizes, except it's not a place. It's just a thing that happens on this show. The place is right here on the show where you can win a prize, and you can enter via email at BumbleKast@yahoo.com or by simply being a patron over at patreon.com/BumbleKast. Who's our winner, Ian?
Today's winner is Daniel T.
Very nice. Very nice.
Daniel is actually one of our non-patrons. He's someone who just wrote in on a whim with a few other folks. So there you go. Patrons do not automatically win everything.
Congratulations. You don't have to be a patron. See, we're nice. We like you.
We will be in contact with you soon, Daniel, to let you know what your prize may be.
Excellent. All right, are we ready to get into our main topic?
We are, and that is, of course, the new DreamWorks/Netflix series, She-Ra and the Princesses of Power.
For the honor of Grayskull.
Yes, indeed. Now, Kyle, you are a little younger than me. Did you grow up with She-Ra and He-Man at all?
Nope.
Did
Let's
you
see.
see any of the classics?
I have. So. I am familiar with what the show looks like, but in terms of the story and most of the characters, not really. I guess I know the basics, and from what I understand, the new series seems to be pretty faithful to the story, the basic plot at least of the original show.
From what I know, now I know I watched He-Man and She-Ra back in the day.
I'm sure I've seen episodes of them at some point in reruns, but I mean, the show ended before I was even born in both He-Man and She-Ra. So, and Transformers is actually the same way. I really didn't have much exposure to Transformers until some of the later series, and even then, I didn't watch too much of it. But I was at least somewhat familiar with it, and then I caught episodes and reruns and got a little more familiar. So, but it's definitely one of those empty spots in terms of like my knowledge of 80s 80s entertainment. Like, I was more into video games than cartoons, I guess. I don't know.
See, all I can remember of the classic stuff was that I wanted to see more crossover between He-Man and She-Ra. But apparently they were legally distinct from one another, so that was a whole thing.
Yeah.
And two, I kind of remembered that her sword turned into other objects, which does kind of carry over into the new show, and that's all I really retained. So Aaliyah did most of the research on it as we were watching the show, and we binged it. We just went straight through the whole thing, pretty much. And the core idea that Adora was kidnapped and raised within the Horde and then said, oops, this is wrong, and defected is the same.
Yeah.
But from my understanding, everything else is kind of a new take on it. And from what I know, it's all for the better. Because from my understanding, in the original She-Ra, Adora was more or less brainwashed. It was not necessarily an upbringing thing. Whereas the new show, one of the major plot lines throughout is Adora having to come to grips with the worldview and the people that she grew up with are in the wrong. And she has to betray them for the greater good. And that's really neat.
Yeah, I like that aspect of it for sure. I only knew.
How much have you seen? How much have you seen, Kyle?
I've only seen the first 2 episodes, the 2-part series.
Okay, so we
opening.
won't get spoilery. I won't get spoilery with it, especially if the listeners have not seen it yet, because it is definitely worth sitting down and going through if you've got Netflix.
I'd agree with that. After just the first 2 episodes, I had fun with it.
I like the redesigns for the characters,
mm-hmm.
for the most part. Anything is an improvement upon the original designs, because some of those were really 80s, and everybody had the exact same body type. So
there were, I did see, obviously, there were complaints about She-Ra's new look. I think it's fine. Doesn't bother me. I also don't have the same nostalgic attachment to the original design, so
sure.
I'm not too worried about it. And also, I don't think anybody who's complaining about it is going to be watching this show. So whatever.
I don't think it's quite in their demographic.
I don't think that. Well, I mean, we're also their age, and we're not in the demographic either. But we're watching it anyway because, well, it's because we have good taste in entertainment.
I would like to think so.
Or at least we like cartoons.
The voice cast is all really stellar throughout. I can't think of anybody who really stood out.
I loved the voice acting. Don't get me wrong. I definitely really enjoyed that.
Great voice direction, too. I would argue, and granted, my memory of the one series is a little dated at this point, but I would argue that She-Ra had a stronger first season than the Voltron remake.
Oh, yeah?
Story-wise.
I didn't watch Voltron either.
Voltron's good.
Voltron,
I really enjoy it.
Voltron, She-Ra is like a minor blip on my nostalgia radar. Voltron is like literally, I don't even think about it. I always forget it was even a thing. I'm like, what? Voltron? Was Voltron a 70s or an 80s thing, or did it carry over between the two?
I think it's like very early 80s.
Okay, because I don't know why, but Voltron to me has always been like this.
And the funny thing about Voltron was that it was it had no presence in Japan because there were a million mecha anime going on at the time.
Right.
But it was the only one that was brought over to the West. So it was the mecha anime for everybody over here, and that's why it has such an enduring presence.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just interesting to see, the two cultures. Japan's going, wait, who? And it's like, how could you not know? You are nothing but mecha anime. Come on.
Yeah, the only thing I have retained from Voltron is the pop culture influence of things connecting together like Voltron. I was like, well, that's also just a Power Rangers thing. So we've kind of us millennials co-opted that with our silly live action cartoon.
But I feel like Voltron Season 1 did not do as good a job explaining the universe and setting up the episodic formula to move their initial story forward.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel like it did as good a job. It didn't do a bad job of it, and it was still entertaining and you could still follow, but I feel like She-Ra did a better job of establishing the core cast and the stakes of the world and moving forward while still leaving that lingering mystery about it all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
However, Voltron is by far and away superior animation quality-wise, because She-Ra has its moments, but I'm really wondering where the budget was for most of Season 1.
Their designs, the character designs I noticed were definitely a bit simplistic. I don't know how much of a stylistic choice that was versus just a budgetary thing. It just seemed like the shading detail wasn't really there.
Mm-hmm.
And it had a very flat look to it, especially color-wise. But I didn't think that was a complete deal breaker or anything. No,
it still looks fine. It's
right.
Definitely serviceable.
Sure.
But there's some moments throughout Season 1 where you're kind of going, ooh, this is almost second string, maybe third string Dragon Ball Z level here, guys.
And
then when they pick up the pace, it's like, oh, that's really pretty. They definitely know where they want to put their budget towards it, but it's like, if I think the animation quality were a little higher, some of the naysayers would be a little quieter just because it would have been, prettier to look at, which is all they really seem to care about when it comes to She-Ra, but that's a different topic. But it bugs me because it's a fun show. It's well written. The pacing is nice. The characters are endearing. I just wish it looked a little better. It deserves to look a little better.
Yeah. I don't know. Personally, I prefer Adora's design to She-Ra's, but that's just me. Maybe I'm a weirdo.
No, I like Adora's. It walks that fine line of 80s nostalgia and modern sensibilities.
Yeah, that's probably why I like it.
But I think She-Ra's look too. I think pretty much everybody's.
I'm not saying She-Ra looks bad or anything. It's just, maybe it's the ponytail. I don't know.
There's a minion to Hordak that I don't know if you've seen in the first 2 episodes, but in the original, it was this really goofy, bat-faced thing. And in this version, it's this creepy little child, but it's not really a child, and that makes it super creepy, and I love it.
I didn't see that. No,
okay, you'll get it. It doesn't play a huge role, but when you see it in action, you're kind of like, that is weird, and that is unsettling, and that's pretty cool because of that.
Yeah.
Also, arguably, Katria is going to be your favorite character because she has the best story arc.
Oh, yeah?
Excuse me, Katra,
yeah.
I keep wanting to add that extra syllable.
That's fine. I knew
fantastic subplot.
I knew who you meant. I already like her.
Oh, you're gonna love her even more. Just Adora, I feel like they know where they're going with her, but they didn't want to go too far in season 1. Katra, she gets to go much further, and it's really freaking cool.
I do like the relationship with Adora and Katra.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And I think that the just Adora turning on everything that the two of them went through and the two of them grew up together, learning and just everything going against that is really it's a little heartbreaking for Katra. It's like I kind of feel bad for her. Like your best friend is turning on you. This is terrible for you.
And I really like too that the Horde isn't like mustache twirling evil.
Even though they're called the Evil Horde.
Yeah, I mean they're clearly evil. Even the Horde member named Kyle, he's clearly evil. Absolutely.
I forgot. I forgot about that. It's like,
don't you worry, Kyle. Kyle will be showing up more throughout the season.
Does he?
We're not done with Kyle.
Oh, good. I get to get yelled at even more.
But I love the fact that the Horde.
I did like that. It was kind of funny. Like somebody named Kyle, and they're screwing up. Yep, I can relate to that. Hey.
I love the fact that the Horde feels like people.
They do.
It gives you a reason to believe why Adora is confused when she sees the outside world.
Mm-hmm.
They're still wrong. They're still amoral to some degree, but they're not just evil for the sake of evil. And I really like that because it strengthens Adora's character arc tenfold. It gives her a lot more to work with. And that's just, it's so good.
Yeah. I don't know if I should have been expecting it, but I was kind of, like, I don't know what the status is of She-Ra versus He-Man. I mean, the legal status, but there was, like, no mention of anything He-Man related, at least in the first 2 episodes. I don't know if that was just a choice or if they're actually, like, not obligated to or not able to acknowledge the other, or I don't even know if there's a He-Man series going on right now, is there?
No,
and I don't think there are any plans for one, which is fine. I don't think She-Ra needs to stand on He-Man's shoulders, as it were. Not like,
which would be terrifying if they'd be 12 feet tall.
True.
No, she's like 8, so it'd be more like 16. But yeah,
they kind of used He-Man as a springboard to introduce She-Ra originally, right? If I'm
More
if
or
I'm
less,
remembering correctly. Yeah, it was.
He-Man was built to sell toys to little boys.
Right, and they used
And
the crossover power to get girls interested.
Well, they found the same ideas behind He-Man of empowerment and taking command of your space and being self-actualizing resonated with girls as well. Surprise, surprise.
Who
so
knew?
They more or less just took the He-Man formula and put a feminine spin on it, and we got She-Ra.
Right.
Which, now granted, my memory of old She-Ra is not great, but from what I remember, it really wasn't that different from He-Man. It's just instead of a bunch of dudes fighting a bunch of dudes, it was a bunch of gals fighting a bunch of gals. And yeah, they might have been more pastel colors, but I'm pretty sure they still, fought with the same intensity as 80 cartoons did, with lasers and telegraphed punches and throwing barrels and that kind of thing.
Just throw a new coat of paint on it.
Exactly.
Who's gonna notice? This is the 80s. This is the 80s. This is kids. Who cares?
New She-Ra kind of follows the same principle. It is a action adventure fantasy show.
Yeah.
That just has a primarily female cast, and that's not, there's no big banner waving saying, look how progressive, look how feminine it is. It's just, here you go. This is the cast. This is their world. Enjoy.
Yeah. I do like Bo, though. If we're talking,
Bo's great.
Bo is,
I was a little worried he'd turn into kind of a Sokka from Avatar.
Funny, XD. I was about to actually mention that
he might get too goofy, but thankfully he never goes into the complete comedic foil.
Oh, okay.
He's a contributing member throughout the season.
Well, so was Sokka. Come on.
Sokka could swing wildly between the two.
Well, yeah.
He's either hyper competent Water Tribe Batman, or he's the meat and sarcasm guy.
It depends on the writer. Probably. I don't know, but I did have some thoughts of he's kind of Sokka-esque, but he also seems to be pretty competent. So,
and his relationship with Glimmer is neat. Their friendship is really nicely articulated throughout the season.
Mm-hmm.
And there's one point in what I think is the best episode of the season where I was worried they were going to take a kind of tropey angle on it just to introduce drama, and it didn't go that way. And I'm very thankful for that. And it's a fun show. It's not. Mm-hmm. It doesn't reinvent the wheel. It's not going to be. It's not something that will necessarily plant a flag on the map for time. But if you've got kids, this is a great show for them. And if you like cartoon stuff and refuse to grow up like us, it's a fun show, so give it a shot.
I would agree. It's very fun, and I've only watched the first 2 episodes. Imagine now the other 11 are, or just watch them so you don't have to imagine. Someone already imagined them for you. That's very handy of them sometimes. Sometimes you don't want to imagine something. Sometimes you just want to have something imagined for you. It's very nice that way sometimes how cartoons work. Anyway, speaking of imagining things, Ian, are we ready to answer some questions from real people? But
I imagine so.
But probably about imaginary things.
They're as real as you want them to be.
Yes. Sure. We'll go with that.
If you want your question answered here on the BumbleKast, you can write into us at BumbleKast@yahoo.com, tweet to @BumbleKast on Twitter, comment in any of the YouTube videos, make any kind of post over on the Patreon site. We'll find it. You just throw it at us.
I'm doing my best to try and keep up with all of them. It's tough, guys, but I'm doing it. Doing what I can. And I appreciate your patience. And if it has been a long time, let me know and tell me your question again, and I'll look into it and get you, see what I can do, because I know there are some of you guys who have had questions fall through the cracks, and it has been ages and ages and ages, and I apologize for that, but let me know. I'll help you out. It's not a big deal. Just let me know, and we'll get it squared away.
Or they could go over to patreon.com/BumbleKast, and for $5 measly get bumped to the head of the line for the priority Q&A. Just saying.
That's also very true. It's also very true.
You can do it just the one time.
Yeah.
No one will judge you. We'll be thankful.
Yeah, I mean, hey, you want to only give us $5 for 1 month? That's cool. You gave us $5 for 1 month. I mean, that's pretty awesome. You're pretty awesome if you do that. You're also pretty awesome if you don't, so it's fine. You're pretty awesome if you listen to this show. How about that? First question from our priority Q&A queue, which we only have one this week, comes from ScruffyMatt. So, that Detective Pikachu trailer, yay or nay?
Oh, absolutely yay.
How did I know?
What about you, Kyle? I know you're not that big into Pokemon.
I watched it. I cannot with Ryan Reynolds as Pikachu. I can't unhear Deadpool. I can't unhear Deadpool. Every time I'm hearing Ryan Reynolds on screen, but Pikachu is not there, I'm hearing Deadpool, and I'm hoping beyond all hope that when it cuts back, it's going to be Deadpool and not Pikachu, but it's Pikachu, which is funny. But I'm sitting there like, I can't unhear Deadpool. I can't. He's doing the same voice. It's exactly the same.
He look forward to him saying Pika Pika in Deadpool 3.
He sounds like he probably will. He sounds like Deadpool, and I can't get over it. It's too weird. It's taking me out of it. I can't get over it. It looks cool. Mr. Mime is frightening.
Oh, it looks fantastic. I love that the critters walk this perfectly fine line between being photorealistic and being their, cartoony.
Yeah.
Well, they're not really sprites anymore, but, they're quirky little animal video game versions. Mm-hmm. It's just in the middle, and that's so hard to do. And I think they nailed it, and I love it. And the humor seems spot on,
and
the designs are great. And I don't understand. This looks like it might be the first good video game movie.
Maybe. We've had a couple of decent video game movies, but it could be the best one.
And that's just weird. It's not even a Pokemon movie. It's a Detective Pikachu movie, which is a spin-off franchise. I don't care. It looks phenomenal. That is deadlocked. See it in the theaters when it comes out.
Yeah.
Unless the next trailer drops and it looks like they dropped the ball and they tricked us the first time. But oh man, this looks like what I want it to be, and I don't know how they did it. It's Nintendo. Nintendo, is notorious for stepping on toes with this sort of thing, but this looks like it's perfect. I don't understand it, Kyle.
Yeah, I think it's because Nintendo's hands off and letting the Pokemon company just handle everything, because Nintendo's movies, forget that. We made one movie in 1993 and we want no movies ever again.
Illumination is doing a Mario movie, so...
That's true. I will probably see it. I'll most likely see it. I mean, we got to talk about it on the show, right?
Exactly.
And it does look very, very funny. It looks very entertaining. It's just that Ryan Reynolds' Deadpool voice is just throwing me off. It's just throwing me off completely. Especially when when the woman is animal talking him, pet talking him, and he's saying Deadpool-esque things about her. Not rated R Deadpool, not rated R Deadpool things, but kind of being you're cute too. It's that's. Did you guys wrote this for Ryan Reynolds, didn't you? You watch Deadpool and we're yep, that's our Pikachu, and it's what? Who did that? I can't figure it out. I love Ryan Reynolds. He's hilarious. He's great. But man, that's just throwing me off. It's just throwing me off. Oh well. Anyway, let's get into the standard Q&A. First one comes from Nicholas S. What was the inspiration for Rough and Tumble's intro? It reminds me of Team Rocket from Pokemon initially, but also the theatrics of pro wrestling.
You've pretty much answered your own question, Nicholas. It's that kind of bombastic, goofy 80s cartoon villainy that I love. Because, you need different threats that aren't just the big bad every time.
Of course.
You need some mooks. Someone that you like to see, but you don't want to see them win. They're the underdogs you root for, but you also hope they lose. And Rough and Tumble's intro is just something dumb, and it's fun, and that's all there is to it. So, yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's a little Team Rocket, it's a little bit of pro wrestling, a whole bunch of 80s creeping in.
All right. Next one comes from Tiege. Tiege, I'm not sure. I think it's Tiege. We'll go with Tiege. Since Halloween is around the corner, whoops, a little behind on this one.
A little dated, but go on.
It's okay. It's still a good question. Is there any chance of seeing the ghost characters from the Night of the Werehog short in the comics, like La, Sue, and Wu? I'm
not this year.
I'm not familiar with the short at all, Ian. So.
Oh, are you serious?
Nope.
You have to watch it, dude.
Okay.
Oh, it's absolutely gorgeous. It's a whole lot of fun. It's one of the reasons why I kind of flipped around on the Werehog thing, where initially I was like, why would this be? And then seeing that short, in addition to some other things, like, all right, this is a fun idea.
Oh,
too bad it's gone forever. But no, La, Wu, and Sue are delightful, and I would like to use them in some capacity in the future. I don't know where or when necessarily, but as we've said a whole bunch of times, the book is brand new, so there's tons of things we can explore. They are kind of sort of offshoot-ish, insofar as La only appeared in the short, and Sue and Moo are mostly exclusive to the short. You can find them in like one side mission in the PS3 version of Sonic Unleashed, but they're like super Easter eggy. So I'm not sure if Sega would want us to reference them. I don't know. But I do want to mess around with the ghost stuff at some point, because I think there's a lot of neat visuals and ideas there. But don't hold your breath waiting for it, because I have other plans. And then plans after that, and then backup plans for those plans, and there are plans. There are plans, Kyle. I like to plan.
Plans out the wazoo. Whatever the wazoo is, I don't know what.
Well, it's packed full of plans, I can tell you that.
People say wazoo a lot, and I have no idea what they mean. I'm kidding. I know what wazoo means. Anyway, I'll have to check out the short, because I have not watched it. I'm a horrible person, because I've not watched something. Didn't you know that, Ian? That's how it works nowadays. If you haven't watched something...
I'll just add it to the list, dude.
If you haven't watched something, you're terrible. That's how this works. Next one comes from Andrew D. Why did Eggman leave Sonic healthy after he captured him in Sonic Forces? You think he would have broke his legs or something. And yes, I know that sounds messed up, but this is Eggman. He wanted to burn the world at the end of that game. Why was that?
And see, my job is trying to figure that out.
Eggman at least wants to give Sonic a sporting chance.
Eggman, this is what bugs me about the 6 months of torture angle that apparently is exclusive to the English version of the game.
Okay. Well.
Is that isn't Eggman. He's not torturous. He's not that level of meticulous and personal barbarism. He's big. He's loud. He comes at you with a car with a drill on the front. He tries to smash it with a wrecking ball. He splits open the planet to suck up the essence of a dark god so he can power a carnival amusement park. That's Eggman. He's big, he's loud, he's bombastic. So the whole torture thing, the idea of break his legs, I don't feel like it fits. He's all or nothing. He beats Sonic and he locks him in a cell. Boom, done, I won. And then once he finishes conquering the planet, he would show, hey Sonic, look, I won, you lost, and then boop, out into space. In SA2, he locks Sonic into a canister and shoots him out into space and then tries to blow him up. That's not torturous. That's big. That's loud. That's ridiculously over the top. And that's why he's so much fun.
Right.
He tricks the entire resistance to pull a, Return of the Jedi style attack on his base just so he can summon up a virtual reality sun to nuke them all. It's just that's why he doesn't break Sonic's legs, is that he isn't a leg breaker. He would perhaps create a small nuclear device to drop on Sonic's legs specifically. Or some hideous Rube Goldberg machine just to flick him in the ear just so he can do it. He's overcomplicated. He's bombastic, but he's not really a mafia style serious injury type.
No. Yeah.
He is the burn the house down to kill the spider type of guy.
Yeah, but the only problem is that the spider keeps coming back and screwing his plans up. Screwing with his house.
That's why we have a franchise.
I guess that's true. I mean, you can't kill Sonic. I mean, well, you can. You can try. It doesn't work out so well.
Liked that game.
It doesn't work out so well for you. Yeah. All right. Next question comes from Jim. Could you elaborate on the decision to create Whisper the Wolf and maybe give us some trivia on her, such as if she has any favorite foods, hobbies, or any other tidbits you can share with us at this point in the series?
I don't want to go too much into Whisper at this point because there are longer term plans to get into who she is and what she's about. So I don't want to, spoil myself here. But some of the thinking behind her creation was I wanted to add to the female roster because we don't have a lot of active female characters in Sonic. And I wanted somebody who was kind of atypical. Amy is, regardless of incarnation, bright pink with a red go-go dress and a giant hammer. That's everybody's very big, bright characters. Rouge is a stealthier character in her approach, but she's all about attitude. She's all about her presence. Cream flings weaponized chow around it. It's a big moment for her. Wave is all about the stylish tricks. She's got
Blaze is all flamey and fire.
Blaze is fire. Yeah. So, and Tangle, who had a comparatively muted color scheme, is always moving. She's like kinetic energy given form. She's all over the place.
Yeah.
So with Whisper, I wanted to do a female character that was not necessarily in your face like so many others are. She's still able to pull off the same ridiculous level of acrobatics and showmanship as the other characters do with her variable Wispon, but she's not as overblown in characterization. Her mutedness makes her stand out next to the Amy's and Rouges and Blazes and whatnot.
Yeah.
I also liked the idea of the Wispon tech. I think it's kind of neat. I wish we could delve more into it. And the variable Wispon was kind of my way of playing with that aspect, that new aspect of the franchise. And I honestly thought it would get a lot of flack or we'd have to dial it back. But not only was it accepted, but Sega actually tossed out a few ideas on what you could do with it that we've used in the comic, which is really cool. When the licensor says, hey, that's a cool idea, wouldn't it be cool if you did this? It's like, acknowledgement! I have been validated!
It's like, wouldn't it be cool if you did this? Well, you're Sega, so I have to now, don't I? But no, I'm joking. I'd hope you'd tell them, no, that's a stupid idea. if they had any, which I mean, they're Sega, so
there was one suggestion made for the end of the current story arc where I'm going, since when could he do that? No, what if we did it this way? And that's what went to print. So, but usually if Sega says do this, we do that. There isn't a lot of back and forth.
Yeah.
As for Whisper's design,
I understand.
I didn't have anything too concrete. That's mostly all thanks to Evan Stanley. I'm hoping that maybe one day IDW will be able to release all the variant ideas she had for Whisper, because Whisper went through a whole bunch of different face, hair, and clothing designs, palette choices. And what we got was what was handpicked by Sega bit by bit to be put together. So I think it would be neat to see what could have been. I know she put some stuff out, but I don't think it's like all the development notes.
No, I got the character sheet, and I don't think it's everything there, but it's a cool look, definitely. A very unique character design, which I like. I like to see that in Sonic, and that's what we've had with Tangle as well. She's very unique too. All right, and finally, I believe this question actually comes from our Bumble raffle winner, if I'm not mistaken. It was sent under the name PacDan16, but I believe it's the same person. So congratulations if you are the same person. If not, well, congratulations to you anyway. You got your question on BumbleKast. Ian, have you ever met someone famous within the game industry? Perhaps someone involved with the Sonic franchise? If so, what was your favorite experience, and what was it like?
Toss-up. I got to meet Izuka-san, Mr. Sonic himself, sat across from a meeting room table and pitched him year one of IDW Sonic to his face. That was terrifying.
I can imagine. But I hope he was receptive. I mean, you're still here, so...
He was super nice, and year one got approved. So there you go. But and I got to meet pretty much the entirety of Sonic Team USA, which is really cool.
Yeah.
But to say I got to pitch my stories to Izuka-san
that's awesome.
It's still weird to say.
Yeah, that is pretty awesome, though.
The other one was years ago. I had a bunch of friends come into town for TCAF, which is a smaller indie comic show here in Toronto. And they had a friend with them who told me about this game idea that he was working on. It was going to be a small indie game, kind of a classic RPG, where the idea is you didn't fight your enemies so much as you tried to understand and reason with them.
I've heard this story.
Nice fella. Mr. Toby Fox offered me a chance to beta test Undertale in early development. I'm like, my PC is garbage. I wouldn't be able to give you good feedback, but thanks anyway, and good luck to you. I mean, indie games, they're a hard sell, and this idea that seems so outside of the box, it'll probably find a kind of a niche market, but I hope he finds some small success in this small game of...
Little did you know.
I remember telling my youngest brother, I met Toby Fox once, and he looked at me as if I had touched heaven itself. If I had transcended the ethereal. It's like, thanks? What am I, chopped liver? Yeah, well, you're my brother. I know you. You met Toby Fox? Yeah. So, yeah, those are my two big video game people moments.
I like meeting him before he was even really
before he
was the Toby Fox that we know. Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
But nice guy.
I can imagine. He seems like a very nice guy. A bit of an eccentric guy too, which is always fun. I'm
kicking myself for having missed an opportunity to see things beforehand, but yeah, I'm very happy that he has far, far exceeded my own short-sighted, ignorant worldview. Still haven't played Deltarune, though. I need to sit down and do that at some point.
Yeah. I can't think... Geez, I can't think of anybody famous. Other than you. I knew you before you were famous, though.
I'm not really a video game guy.
I guess. I just thinking... You're
I've done some stuff.
You're tangentially related to the industry. You know some people in it. And also, just like, I'm just thinking in terms of people who have a following. Not necessarily in games specifically, but just in terms of people who have a following.
Well, if we're talking tangentially, I've also met Mike Pollock, who is a swell guy.
Yeah.
Super chill to be around. Great sense of humor.
Like, people I'm trying to think. Like, people I've met, who are I guess, would you say the Megas are well known? They're pretty,
For a video game cover band, sure, I'd say so.
Grant Kirkhope. Banjo-Kazooie developer, or Banjo-Kazooie composer, sorry. I mean,
okay.
Kind of developer, but yeah, Grant Kirkhope. I also, this was it. I met I did the meet and greet at Video Games Live, back in like 2010, which was a lot of fun. But, I actually got to meet Christopher Tin, who's the composer for the main theme of Civilization 4.
Oh, cool.
And I believe he's also done some other Civilization music as well since then. But
you reminded me.
But that was not long after he won the first Grammy Award for video game music soundtrack that he won for that song. So, but I met him. I actually had him on my other podcast before and talked to him then, but then also got to meet him in person, and he was really cool. He was a really nice guy. If it weren't for the fact that I was in line and there were people piling up behind me, we probably could have sat and talked for another couple hours like we did on this show, because he's just all around a really cool dude, and he was really just excited and to be there, and he like remembered me, and he knew who I was, and he was willing to, just chat it up for a while. So that was a lot of fun.
Cool.
At that same meet and greet, also got to talk for a few seconds and it was only for a few seconds, sadly, but it was to Castlevania composer Kinuyo Yamashita, who is delightful. She's wonderful, but she's I didn't get to talk to her for very long, sadly, but she is one of two composers who did the original Castlevania. And she composed Wicked Child, which is my favorite song from the game. So, yeah, that's pretty cool. Also, she did Mega Man X3, so I had her sign my copy of Mega Man X Collection just because that's the only thing I had. Unfortunately, I didn't have physical copies of anything else she worked on, so I'm like, well, this is the best I can do. It's the best I can do, thank you.
You remind me, though, I got to meet T-Lopes, the composer for Sonic Mania.
Yeah.
His original album is coming out in a few weeks, I believe, so give that a look.
Mm-hmm.
And Aaliyah got her picture taken with Jun Sunue.
Yes, I do.
So,
I do remember seeing that, which is...
I can kind of say by extension.
I'm a little jealous you met half of Crash 40.
I missed out on meeting Julian Kay, though. We had to before he showed up at that show, but... So yeah, there's been a few. Huh.
Yeah. And the cool thing is that now most of them are fans, so, you like they were fans who have gone on to just be developers and work on the series itself, which is awesome. So I definitely like that. I'm glad Sega's figured out that there's a lot of talent in the Sonic community that they definitely should and hopefully will continue to tap into. And maybe some other developers and publishers could also learn from that. All right, well, that's all we got for the Q&A this week on this edition of the BumbleKast, which also brings us to the end of this episode.
Before we go, we're going to give a big shout out to everyone who makes this show possible. Thank you all, you lovely patrons who are so devout to us, so loyal, so wonderful, beautiful too, radiant to behold.
And you smell nice.
You just had to take it one step further, didn't you?
I'm just assuming.
I mean, you're not wrong, but okay. Big thank you to Daniel H., Eric F., Alex P., Zanos, Duas, Den, ScruffyMatt, Chris A., John B., Sam Cybercat, Samuel P., Jennifer R., David C., Reverend the Light, Lisa M., Mike B., Joshua S., Super Dragon Fan, Digama F. Wow, AE Double, Brody M, Neil H, Justin S, Justin G, Dan MS, Adam T, Silly String Takaro, Lee HK, Chevelle, Don B, Sen Fritz, Taco El Gato Comics, John M, Esavardovich 9X, James K, Tick Tick, Papa Dripadopoulos, Overthinking Films, Adam BT, and Ron.
Woo! You got hung up on the middle there, but you made it.
I need to practice. One of these days I'll do it all. Go.
You usually get it. It's fine.
Kyle, where can they find you now that the show is all done?
You can find me on Twitter at KyleJCRB. You can also head on over to kngi.org if you're not there already, where you can find archived MP3 downloads of the BumbleKast and many other shows, including my video game music show, Nitro Game Injection, which also streams live Saturdays at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, which you can listen to right there at kngi.org. It's all there. All there. What about you, Ian?
You can find me on Twitter at IanFlynnBKC or head over to BumbleKing.com, which has a release schedule for everything I'm working on, my full portfolio, and all sorts.
All right. Don't forget you can follow the show on Twitter at BumbleKast or email us at BumbleKast@yahoo.com. Good way to send Q&A questions or enter into the Bumble raffle. So be sure to hit us up. Let us know what you think and give us your questions, and we will hopefully give you answers eventually.
If you're a patron, don't forget you get exclusive live video games every Sunday evening by either Kyle or myself.
And you can also head on over to shop.spreadshirt.com/BumbleStore and get you some Bumble gear to put on your Bumble face, or at least on your Bumble head.
I mean, you could put it on your face. It just may not be the best place to put it.
It may not be a Bumble face, but, well, it could be if you put a Bumble King thing on it. Then it would be
I'm just saying, I'm not quite sure how long the coffee mug would fit on your nose, but I mean, hey, go nuts, man.
Why not? It's worth a shot. I mean, you get a hat and you put that on your Bumble head, then you'd have a Bumble head. You could have a Bumble head.
We need a Bumble.
Sure, let's do that. I don't know how. I don't know who to talk to, but we can do that. I'm down.
Oh my God, bobbleheads of me and you. Would there even be a market for it?
No. That sounds frightening. I don't
My
know.
wife is screaming in horror from the other room.
Is she saying no?
Yeah, vehemently.
Wow. She didn't even bat an eye. She's no, like, wow, that must. She really must be. She must be repulsed by us. I didn't even know.
Which just means it has to happen now. That's our show. Good night, everybody.
Who would buy that? Nobody.
Nobody. I know maybe one guy who might. Because he's a huge fan, but nobody.
I don't really have a whole heck of
Take two.
I don't really have a whole heck of a lot to lose. Also, I am recording that, so.
Hi there, and thanks for listening to the BumbleKast. If you liked our show, be sure to hit the subscribe button and consider supporting us on Patreon. We have some great rewards as well as big plans on how to make the show even better. Also, rate and review our show on iTunes. It gets more folks listening and helps us out, so we definitely appreciate it. Original music composed by Ken Coda Snyder, used with permission. Find more of his music at bc.s3m.us and find the theme song at noisechanradio.bandcamp.com, available as a pay-what-you-want download.
You did fine, Ian. You did great. You did wonderful. Okay, let's get out of here.